Okay, let's go for our next presenter. No, our next presenter would be Dr. Ranil Sinanayaki. He has a long history of active environmental conservation work. From 1964 to 1970, he was a field associate of the American Museum of Natural History, where he pioneered work on species, habitats, and developing field keys to amphibia. He has been a consultant for UNEP, UNDP, and the World Bank on matters of biodiversity and forest rehabilitation. Currently, Dr. Anil was scientific director for Counterpart International for their forest garden program in Sri Lanka, Guatemala, Vietnam, and the Philippines. He has an extensive knowledge on marketing of organic products and was responsible for the certification of much of the highland smallholder coffee in Papua New Guinea. Dr. Anil is the developer of analog forestry concept for ecosystem restoration work that has a worldwide following currently. Currently, Dr. Anil is working on adding value to primary ecosystem services through the development of an electronic ledger termed LifeForce to facilitate the rural population to participate effectively in the development economy while adding to the sustainability of the local area. So please help me welcome Dr. Ranil Sinanayaki. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Can I share the screen? Can I
Sure,
use
sir.
my
Go ahead.
screen
Yeah.
share? I can. Okay. First, I want to thank everybody for being here. Thank you. I am a farmer as well as a scientist, and therefore I'd like to share what I have learned in the field with you. I think it's really important. Now, the other thing is I prepared a 15-minute presentation, but I'm going to go very fast because I've got 10 minutes. So if you have questions, come to me later. I've got the emails on my screen, so copy them down, and if you have questions, come to me later. Now, let me go to
Hello,
this.
Dr.
Yes.
Anil. This is Rowena.
Yes.
We would like to tell our speakers that we have extended your presentation up to 15 minutes, so it's okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. No worries. Okay, here we go. Let me start by, yep. Okay. Oops. Excuse me. Excuse me. I'm. Can you see my screen? No.
Not yet, sir.
Okay. Hold on. Uh, yeah. Okay. Let me get back here. Okay. Now share. Yes. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, doctor. Yes, yes.
You can. All right. Sustainable use of resources, I think, can only be possible with a good working knowledge of those particular resources. I'd like to take you quickly through our agricultural fields and what we need to do as small farmers. Whoops, excuse me. Okay, sustainable consumption has been defined, or use has been defined as the consumption of goods and services that have minimal impact on the environment, social, and be economically viable while meeting the needs of humans. This is what we're supposed to move towards. As organic farmers, you'll see this field before, we work on different systems, tree covered systems, agroforestry systems, permaculture systems, analog forest systems, etc. So we must learn first what our ecosystems are and how they function. To do that, we must also understand that there's a maximal sustainable yield of each ecosystem from any landscape. And what's happening today, as you see, is from forests, we have come into farms that we manage organically. But as we move towards urbanization, you will find that the impervious surfaces, that is, the surfaces where water cannot penetrate and air cannot penetrate, increases. So basically, as we move from rural to urban, we lose a tremendous amount of the land's capacity to produce ecosystem services. Now, here's one example of constructive pressure. This is the forest of Amazonia. First, you go in and take the trees out. Okay, that's one level of consumption. You come back here, you run some cattle on this thing. They destroy the land some more. And then, excuse me, right? Then you move back and then they say, okay, we got some good soil, let's grow a grain on it. For quick return, you grow a grain on it. And eventually you're down here, which is the bare bones. This is what is happening today in most of the areas, and most of our small farmers are being pushed into this direction. Now, what we have to understand is a good soil is living. 1 gram of a good soil would contain within it 1 to 2 billion individual bacterial cells. Sharing that same space with the bacterial cells would be 100 to 200 million individual actinomycetes. Sharing that same gram with the bacterial actinomycetes, we have over a kilometer of length of fungal hyphae, thousands of algal cells, thousands of nematodes, worms, columbalis, macroarthropods. Now, in terms of bacteria alone, the upper 15 centimeters of soil contains about 5,000 to 11,000 kilograms per hectare. This is the engine that runs agriculture all through our planet. And this is the engine that we have discounted and ignored to our peril, because the total weight of all living organisms in an organic soil accounts for a mass of about 7,000 to 14,000 kilograms per hectare in the upper centimeters of soil. And then, if you consider that the combined weight of all the organisms in that top 15 centimeters is about equal to the weight of about 20 horses, which means you have close on 20 horsepower of energy working day and night in your soil, every day, every night, doing chemical transformations. This is what creates fertility in the soil. This is what gives us good soil. This is a living soil that supported humanity for the last 10,000 years. But the moment we start putting external energy into the soil, like fertilizers and agrochemicals, there is an ecological axiom that says energy flow through any ecosystem tends to organize and simplify that ecosystem. So then what happens basically is, whoops, what happened? Hello? Hello? Oh, okay. Then what happens is that the ecosystem, soil ecosystem, loses both biomass and biodiversity. So as the soil ecosystem gets smaller and smaller, weaker and weaker, it is then unable to continue giving you a crop. You have to use external energy. It's like a drug addict. The moment you put external energy, you you ruin your soils to a level that it becomes totally reliant on external energy to give you a crop. Today, agriculture has become totally reliant on fossil fuel, on fossil energy. Now, is oil a good thing? There are two opinions of this. Let me show you that. Whoops. Yeah. There are two visions of soil. In Sri Lanka, an official communique says no oil means no development. Less oil, less development. It is oil that keeps the wheels of development moving. In Ecuador, there is the Shuar Amazonian tribe, under whose feet lie massive deposits of oil. But they oppose its mining because they say oil represents the spirits of the dead. Ask it for power and you sacrifice your children. Now, this in this future that we are moving towards, we are made to work harder, consume, earn more money, run, consume. Happiness is around the corner. Go buy things, keep moving, keep going, keep earning. Now, this is economic development through the consumption of oil. And what it leads is to oil addiction. Development based on oil, on the consumption of oil as we know today, is totally non-sustainable. But all of our development energies still are focused towards the consumption of oil and oil addiction. Now, hold on. Yeah. And to service the oil addiction, of course, our farms have to give way to the roads and to urbanization. And in that, the pavement gets made in urbanization, and the interchange of atmospheric soils and gases that has been going on for millions, billions of years stops forever. So urbanization actually takes away all the ecosystem services a piece of land can produce, and then it's up to the rural people to take up the slack and increase our production so the urban people can live a little better. Now, sorry. Now, let me show you something that happens when we go on this road of adding energy and going high energy systems. In Sri Lanka, we have the external energy systems. This is the traditional rice field run by buffaloes. This is an external energy field run by tractors. So we get a lot of oil energy into it, and we say the buffalo is, oops, sorry, we say excuse me, we say the buffalo is too slow, the tractor works well, and we work a system for the tractor. Fine. What happens culturally and ecologically in that landscape is this. When the buffalo goes, the buffalo wallow, that is where the farmer puts the buffalo into water constantly because they like to stay in water, right, disappears. And that's taken out and turned into the field. When that disappears, a whole range of ecological cascades begin. It starts with the loss of the buffalo follow, the dry weather refuge for the fish are gone. And with the small fish disappearing, the control of the mosquitoes, malaria, and dengue disappear, and that emerges, and there's the opportunity cost of that. Next, what happens is with the big fish gone, the protein source for the village is gone. With the little fish gone, the mosquitoes come in and disease starts increasing. This is the first thing. Then, with the vegetation around the buffalo wallow gone, all the population of predators and control agents disappear because they have nowhere to live anymore. And then, with that control gone, the threat of pests start increasing, and the farmer can't get a good crop. the, when the vegetation goes around the buffalo wallow, the amphibians disappear. And the amphibians are also excellent controllers of insect pests. And with them gone, more pressure on the farmer's farm. In addition to that, a variety of dragonflies that are supported by the buffalo wallow disappears. And the predatory insects are now gone, and there's more um, pests increasing. Again, another thing that happens is the Varanus lizard disappears. That eats the crab called Paradelphusa. The crab burrows into the farmer's paddy buns, and the farmer has to put in at least 5 to 6 man days of work every season if this creature is not there because of the damage you get here. And this creature disappears when the buffalo wallow disappears. Similarly, the rat snake tires, right? It destroys the rats and the mice that destroys the farmer's crop. The buffalo wallow disappears, all this disappears. So this, just by bringing the tractor and taking the buffalo out and not thinking about the kind of ecosystem that we traditionally had developed in each country. In all of your countries, this will be true. We will lose a lot of the ecological knowledge that our traditional farmers brought with us. So please pay attention to this aspect of your farms. Also, with the loss of the buffalo wallow, that stops the economic activity of soaking and softening the leaves of the coconut, which was used for traditionally for the roofing. Right. All this impedes sustainable consumption patterns. And we traded tradition for fossil given technology. And when we did that, there is a price to pay. The price is that fossil led development is creating climate change. And as we see this, global temperature averages start going up, 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 up. Now at year 2000, we are really climbing. In all our countries, all of you, all of us have the experience of this. That is, the temperature trend in every country is that there's an increase in the mean. There's more hot weather, there's more record hot weather. This is becoming serious in many of our countries, in some countries exceeding 40 degrees. This, for us, for farmers, this is deadly. This is a deadly, deadly problem for the farming community because chlorophyll has an operating maximum optimum temperature at around 37 to 39. As that temperature increases, the productivity goes down. You get less and less productivity. Past 40, 5 to 48, everything ceases. So we are heading into this future. We are heading into a future where agriculture might be impossible in open areas. What can we do? This is a scientific reality, and this is a creation of ourselves. by burning fossil fuel for development. Now, chlorophyll is the substance that's going to be affected. Chlorophyll is what gives us our food. Chlorophyll is what sustains us as farmers, because this is primary productivity. This is the first bit of productivity is called the primary ecosystem services. And you look at the soil in terms of heating, right? Even the earthworms cannot exist temperatures over 36. At 44, they're almost gone. So all of us farmers, we have to think, how on earth can we go into the future when the future looks like this? We have to now appraise ourselves with scientific knowledge, with the knowledge of the organisms, trees and plants around us, and use our farm the best way we can. Right. How can we respond? Well, trees provide a constancy of environmental variables because of the shade, they reduce solar input, etc. They facilitate the formation of soil. Remember when I spoke earlier about the billions and millions of organisms in the soil? Well, they live here, but they cannot live unless the tree roots, which provide 20% of the total weight every year into the soil to maintain an active living soil. So trees are extremely important for us to face the future with. There's another reason why, and that is the soil, when the trees make a good active soil, right, the mycelia that grow up in an active living soil, right, increases the active root surface to bring in nutrients and water up to 700 times more than a crop that is there without a living soil. And we can put in from a bag, we can put in nitrogen, phosphorus, everything else. But the plants can't take it up. If there's a living soil, the plants can absolutely absorb a huge quantity because the soil lets them do it. Think about growing the soil. Next, the trees themselves, right, give us cool the ambient environment. One large tree gives us a cooling capacity of 10 air conditioner room size units, which is roughly about 1,200,000 British thermal units of cooling a day. An acre will give us 540 British thermal units of cooling a day. Why this is important is tree covered home gardens then are the ideal response to food security and adaptation to climate change. We have to learn to design and define our homes so that we have the security of photosynthetic biomass around us, giving us that stability, building the soil under us, and giving us the future. Now, the great challenge for the future is what kind of landscapes are we going to build into the future? In the future, monoculture, corporate farming like this will not work. It will be too hot for it. So therefore, we have to stop thinking monoculture, small farms, and think like this. Farms that are surrounded by trees and tree crops, landscapes that are diverse and developed. This has to be the future landscapes if we are going to survive climate change. And as small farmers, this is our strength. We have to now get up and we have to respond and demonstrate the capacity we have and what we can do to respond to the future that is before us. So, the one other, two couple of other things I'd like to share with you is we do a thing called analog forestry. Here's two examples where we create things that are analogous, similar to the natural forest, but with crop species useful to man. Crop species useful to man. Uh, Oops, I got out of this thing for a minute. Excuse me. Okay, useful to man. So yeah, analog forestry, crop species. So this is, here is the native forest, here is the analog forest. Here, 60% of all the native vertebrates have returned. The birds have returned. Everything comes back. But this is a forest that gives you crops and will give you an income at the same time while responding to national and international needs. Now,
Dr. Sinayaki, please wrap up. Thank you.
yep, okay. Here is a system of certification which might be useful for all of you all. Please take this number down. And in the future, shifting to sustainable consumption is possible also by investing in primary ecosystem services. I won't talk about all this. I'll just give you the web pages. Please come and visit us, and you will see the work we are doing. Join hands, join our networks, and let us make a change on this planet. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sinanayaki, for that comprehensive and wonderful presentation. So indeed, the future is really in organic, in agroecology, not in monoculture plantations. Again, thank you, Dr.
Absolutely.
Sinanayaki. Yes.
Absolutely. One thing I'd like to share with you is that we share with you my farm. This is my farm. This is my production area. This is my forest. This is my farm. All of us can live like this. So please join me.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sinanayaki.
Thank
Good
you.
afternoon.